My name is Alvaro Erize. If you haven't joined one of ours before, I'm the CEO of CINC. I am very appreciative to have you all here, and I am super excited to have Tom with us. Now, Tom needs no introduction, but in case you're joining us from the Antarctica or something, he does run the most successful world leader coaching group in real estate. He's also a best-selling author of the New York Times, but for me, most importantly for today, Tom always has a great finger on the pulse of the real estate world and market, and more importantly, always has what I believe are very valuable takeaways of what can differentiate you in this market. So with that, Tom, I'm so grateful for you to join us here and excited to spend the next hour with you.
Awesome, Alvaro. Thank you. And thanks for inviting me into the community. You know, I'm a big fan of CINC, big fan of you, my guy Troy over there, I see. Hey, so just, Brandon, if you would open up the chat just for a second. So would you all be so kind as to share with me, if you think about where your business is right now in comparison to what you set your goal for this year, are you ahead? Are you flat? Or are you slightly behind? If you would just tell me really fast in the comments, just gives me context for the direction I go. And let's try and make this as, there you go. Thank you, Brent, so I can really see it all. Yeah, so slow, are you behind? Are you flat? Are you slightly ahead? Like, give me the scoop. All right, so I'm seeing flat, flat, behind, a little bit behind, flat, right? A little behind, slightly behind, flat, flat, flat. All right, so first of all,
behind wins, Tom, from my very scientific analysis of it.
And so the first thing so let me ask you one more question, then we'll jump in. Could you also share with me, if you wouldn't mind, in the comments, how many years have you been selling houses? How many years have you been selling houses? So give me that number as well. All right, so I love it. So 17, 8, 6, 5, 4, 20, God bless you. 20, Michael Smith. I love it. 11 years. Good for you. 4 years. I didn't see an 8-month. Okay, let's keep going there. 10
April
plus.
Farmers, 3 months. Congratulations. All
right.
The fact that you're here speaks very highly of you.
I love it. Yeah. And then you got 26 years, 12 years, Connie. So congrats, Connie. I'm starting my 36th year. So I'm right there with you. First year in the business, 4 years. All right. So it gives me context. I've got some crazy, unbelievable veterans. I've got some people that are, I refer to them as the pandemic babies. They got into real estate when money was free and all you had to do was put a mask on and people bought houses from you. And boy, has the world changed. So Alvaro was kind enough to ask me, would I come and share some insights? And what is unique about this? It's a nice intimate group where we can communicate and connect on chat, and I can kind of get a sense of, who you are and what you're committed to. But also, I just came out of a week of finalizing all of the things I'll be discussing on August 26th through the 28th at my annual summit. And what is cool about that is you're going to be some of the very first people outside of my team to hear some of the insights that we'll be sharing there. So the only thing I'm going to say to you is, please give me a little grace if one of the slides has a misspelling, because that means I definitely wrote it or typed it myself, or if they don't look as sharp as I would like them to look, just give me a little grace, because I just turned them over, Alvaro, to my design team and said, now make these pretty. But you're going to hear it first. So let's jump into it. So Brandon, what's the best way for me to share my... Oh, well, that was easy. All right. So, hey, if we're not connected on Instagram, obviously we'd love to connect with you there. By the way, Alvaro, it's my birthday month, and pretty much every day between now and my birthday, I'm doing a drawing. Like for today, if you go to my Instagram and you see one where it says, hey, it's my birthday, I'm going to pay an agent's MLS dues, and I'm going to give them a free coaching session. Sometime over the next few weeks, I'm going to pay an agent's mortgage. I'm going to make their car payment. Maybe I should make their CINC payment. I'm going to do all kinds of fun things because I'm like, I don't need a birthday gift, but I owe so much to this industry that, yeah, I want to do that instead. So make sure you connect with me there. All right. So when Alvaro and I were talking about this, he said, hey, so what are two of the big things you're working on leading up to this conference? So for context, I've been doing this for, this particular event for 23 years. And every year my job is to come out in front of my constituents, my 6,000 plus clients in the room and, maybe 20,000 watching on the live cast, and basically put the gauntlet down to say, Here's what we know, here's where we're at, and here's where we're going. Now, I can't give you obviously, 3 days of content, but I am going to give you a lot to think about, starting with these two research pieces that I did. So the first one was, I was looking at this cycle that we're currently in, call it the last 3 years of 6.5 to 7.5 interest rates. We went from, 2.25 interest rates and 6.9 million transactions times two buy side, sell side, to this year, another 4 million transactions, buy side, sell side, call it 8, plus new construction. So many would argue that we are in a very flat, in a stalled environment right now because of cost of money and a myriad of other things. But what I want to share with my clients is, if you look back over the last 5 decades, what the study that I did inside of ChatGPT, Grok, and Perplexity, and many others was, over the last 5 decades, what caused home price appreciation, HPA, what caused it to go up, what caused depreciation, and why was it flat, for how long, and what should we expect? And if you could imagine, with deep research on 3 different large language models, I've got 3 100-page case studies to go through. What I did is I took all of it and I said, can you compress it down to the 5 most important lessons that my client should understand? So I share this with you for like the second time outside of my team. Here's what you should understand. The first thing is, as you sit here in this, what we would call a stalled real estate market, a stale real estate market, a flat real estate market, and heads up, all of you that said you're flat, in my book, you're winning. So congratulations, right? Obviously we want more. You're ambitious. I respect that. But if you're flat, you're winning. And if you're slightly behind, depending upon the marketplace you're in, one of my clients, Phoenix, Arizona, in the last 3 years, the market's off by 40%. This year, it's off about 8%. Well, he's ahead by 12% year over year. So that's a 20% swing. If your market's off by 15 or 20% on transactions, and you're like 5% off on your goal, technically you're winning. You're beating the market, but I know you want more. So what has the study revealed? The first thing, most importantly, is that every downturn ends in recovery. Now, what we know, whether you look back to, so for me in the early days, 1991, that recession, we were saying survive until 95, right? That was the mantra, just survive until 1995. And guess what? By the time we got to 95, the market started to recover. And then from 96 until the, call it the dot-com explosion of 2001, and really 9/11, we went on a massive run of recovery. Home prices skyrocketed, transactions went through the roof, agents made a fortune, and then 2 things happened and the market slowed again. But if you look most recently from like, say, 2007 to 2009, during the global financial crisis, I think, especially for a lot of my crafty veterans that are, 18 years, 20 years, 25 years, you and I both know there was probably a time during 7, 8, 9 that you were like scratching your head saying, is this ever going to end? Is the world ever going to recover? I certainly had those same thoughts. And then by the time we got to 2010, if you really look at the data, builders basically slowed building to almost a standstill from 2008 to 2012. And by the time we got to 2012, the gluttony of extra homes available that investors didn't buy was gone. And from 2012 to 2019, we went on one of the craziest bull runs in real estate we've ever seen. And by the way, heads up for my veterans, the number one thing that consumers said and agents complained about was there was no inventory. That was the complaint from 2012 to 2019. And you can argue we haven't stopped complaining about it. And depending upon where you are in the US, right, in 2 of the major metros or 2 of the major markets, if you just took north, south, east, west, in the north, specifically in the northeast, there is no inventory. A nice home comes on the market, they have 5, 6, 8, 10 offers. But if you go down to Florida or you go to a lot of the sand states, it's the opposite. So the thing I want to stress to you is we're going to see a recovery. It's going to happen sooner than you think. And many of the things we'll discuss today, if you pay attention and start to do them now, you're going to put yourself ahead of the curve versus how everybody else has a tendency to miss it and then have to chase. Now, very quickly, the next 3 or 4 should be obvious. Obviously, rates drive growth. And we saw a nice decrease in the rates today. I posted about it on my Instagram stories. It's not enough to get the millions of buyers that are on the sidelines to jump into the market, but it's getting close. It's getting really close. My prediction is we're going to get to 6.26, 6.3, and with buy downs and other ways to, to get properties sold and to help buyers, we could see rates in the high fives. And when the rates are in the high fives, the wheels come off. But there's a lot you have to do to be ready for that. Obviously, the third thing is the fundamentals today are phenomenal, because one of the things, of course, I looked at was, how does this decade compare to the other 5 decades that we're analyzing? And what do we know? Equity is up through the roof. There's a small amount of mortgage debt. We have almost no foreclosures. The overall fundamentals are so in our favor that it almost doesn't make sense. And then, of course, demographics are on our side, which I'm going to show you a slide in a minute, which really speaks to the fact that between the millennials, the Xers, and the boomers, there is so much opportunity and so many buyers and sellers that want to transact, but they're waiting, right? You're sensing it. I see the same. Now, the last one is, obviously, we don't have enough inventory. Builders can't build fast enough. Doesn't matter where you are. And the challenge we face is everybody wants to live in the major metros where there just is no space. So we've dealt with that for the last 5 decades. That's not going to change. People are going to have to drive a little farther for new construction. It is what it is. They buy that first house, then they move in closer and closer to where they want to be. So that's the nutshell of what the last 5 decades revealed. But the thing that I want to point out to you is that only you can generate momentum. And my friend Alvaro knows this more than many because of his extensive business background, investment banking, and more. There is no standing still in business. There is no standing still in business. You're either gaining momentum or you're losing momentum. You're either gaining it and you feel it, you know it. You're like, there's just something about this week. It's just, oh man, today I feel it. You're either gaining it or you're like, oh my God, will anybody ever buy a house from me again? Why is it that every lead I call doesn't want to do anything? Right? So we all go through this, but only you can generate the momentum. So here's
also, Tom, before you move out of that slide, I want to make one comment to go back to the slide before, which is the rates actually solve a couple of those items. Because as you say, lowering the rates gets buyers on, but there's a lot of sellers that are refusing to sell and put their house in the market because of the difference between their current mortgage and the mortgage they would get.
100%.
So the moment the rates start coming down, you have more buyers and you have more buyers that become sellers, adding more inventory. But I would love to see construction pick up, and it is incredible, as you've been saying, that from 2012 to now, the scare was so big out of that one that construction has been so careful, but it shows great potential, right?
So I think you're spot on, and I'm going to give people a more advanced assignment. Would it shock you to hear that you can compile the mortgage interest rate data on all the homes in your marketplace and then do an analysis of at what differential of their existing mortgage versus the new rate is going to cause them to transact? So what we know to be true is it's about a 200-point differential. So if I've got a 4 mortgage and it gets to 6, that's enough for me from a payment standpoint, plus the equity I've gained to get me to transact. Now, I'm not saying, by the way, that people with a low rate won't sell. My goodness, I sold a house in Newport where I used to live that had a 2.25 mortgage on it. And I'm mad every day that I sold it, right? Forgetting the fact that it also went up in value after we sold it.
If you got a divorce, you still cannot live with your wife. No matter what the payments are happening, there's still, you have to live apart. You cannot survive.
That is the constant reminder. My great mentor, Steve Harney, from many of you know the company Keeping Current Matters, was, no one's going to say I'm getting a divorce, but we can't move because we got a 2.3 interest rate.
Exactly.
So, but that's the market right now, Alvaro. It's the D's market. It's the death. It's the divorce. It's, that's the market we're in. So here's just a snapshot of the population growth. And if you look at sort of whose circumstances are changing, it's clearly the boomers and the silent generation. That's why, what Alvaro and CINC provides, the opportunity to market effectively to those people, to get them to raise their hand, to get them to, especially when you look at the silent generation. I'm going to say this and it's going to sound horrible, but please take it from the standpoint that I'm actually thinking about the consumers. Everybody in the silent generation, they have no equity or no mortgage on their house. They got nothing but equity. But their agent died or retired 10 years ago. So there's just this enormous opportunity for you to be thinking from a demographic farming standpoint. We call it the Silver Tsunami campaign. I would take a hard look at that. So looking at all these data points, and Alvaro, I love your feedback. So please, keep interjecting. What am I really telling you? That whoever does the real work now, that's who's going to win. The one that isn't sitting on the sideline waiting for rates, waiting for the economy, waiting for the president to do or do not. None of that stuff matters. It's about what we do every single day. Now, the second piece of research.
Wait. So Tom,
Yes.
so one good example of what you just said was 2020. And you can go
Exactly.
look back at our webinars of 2020. In April, everyone was panicking. And we kept saying, look, especially on the online lead generation
Right.
game, but all this game, but especially in online lead generation, whoever's putting in the work now will be the one that if the market recovers in October, will be cashing. Now, if it doesn't market, maybe you wasted some, if it doesn't recover, maybe you wasted some work, but if you didn't do the work, you're going to miss that comeback. And boy, were there people that missed that comeback in the second
Yep.
half of 2020, while everyone
Yep.
that put in the work in the right time cashed in big on those relationships that they had generated.
So Alvaro, I'll double down on that. And it certainly is relevant to today. We tracked two separate campaigns amongst, call it 15,000 of our clients. One campaign was, how many referrals and transactions did you do during the pandemic from simply calling past clients in Sphere and saying, Alvaro, I just want to check in on you and your family. Are you okay? Is there anything you need? The group that did that all said the same thing. Like, yeah, it took time. Yes, I had a lot of long conversations, but it literally generated for them tens, if not hundreds of transactions, depending upon the size of their database, just from just calling and saying, are you guys okay? Do you need any help?
Because it's not transactional, right? Because you're coming and establishing your relationship independently of
Bingo.
whether they will transact with you, which means that when they do transact, they will transact with you.
You got it. But the second one was more interesting. So, Alvaro, what do we know? We know that the very first thing people stop doing in a flat, declining market or an uncertain market is advertising. So the second thing we tracked was the amount of our clients that were doing, whether it was Facebook, Google, all the stuff, right? That they were continuing to run ads. But of course, the ads had to change to, is it still safe to buy a home, right? 5 ways to buy a home safely. 3 things you need to know about moving during the pandemic. The people that did that, their business exploded as we got into the summer of 2020 and 2021. They all look back and say, it was all those early opportunities, those leads that I generated from online advertising then that had one of the biggest impacts on my business. So it was database, just doing the right thing, and then keep your foot on the gas on your advertising and marketing, because when most people stop, the pathway is clear for you to dominate. So speaking of, let's look at this research, because it speaks volumes to the same thing we've seen over the last, call it 24, 36 months. So the competition we're looking at is specifically who won all the listings. So I do this analysis every year. So this is 2024. And what we did is we tracked the number of listings sold in every MLS across the US with my partners at F&F, Fidelity National Financial, that have access to all the data, and they close, call it 40 to 50% of all the escrows in the country. We looked at all the data and you could see the numbers. 1,111,200 agents had 0 listings sold and closed in the first 6 months of last year. Now, let's call it for what it is. Ruby, my chief of staff, just walked in to hand me some water. If Ruby and I were business partners, we'd only put all of our listings under one MLS ID. So I say that 1,111,000 was probably more like a million, right? There's probably 100,000 between teams and husband and wives and father, son and partnerships. But still, last year was a pretty challenging year and 1 million people didn't have a listing sell. And then you could see all the numbers, the group that had 2.7 listings sold or 6.8 or 14. But really, that's just giving you a taste. I believe fundamentally consolidation has been happening in our industry, certainly for the last 2 decades. And there's a clear separation. There's the teams. There's the people that are doing more online advertising, collecting opportunities early. There are the people that are just great marketers. There's a lot of factors. But if I show you, when I show you this year, the first 6 months, you're going to see some obvious differences between this year versus last year. So take a peek. The first thing is, again, we had a million plus people. So maybe it was 950,000 that didn't have a listing, sell, and close. And everybody else that was on that 1,065,000 were a team or a business partner. But the thing that you want to look at is that red bar, the very first one, 2.1 agents. Last year, that number was 215,000 agents. This year, it's 344. What does that mean? It means a lot of people fell backwards this year. A lot of people fell backwards. Now, I'm going to make the argument, if you're watching this, I'm going to make the argument that the gal that had 2.1 listings sell in the first 6 months and close probably did 5, 6, 8, 10 buyer sales. Also, she is a great agent in my mind. She's doing phenomenal. Now, the person that had 7.6, right, which would be like, I guess, 7 or 8, that person probably had another 10, 12, 13. These are really, really good agents. But again, compare it to last year. That yellow bar was 91,000. This year it's 66, almost 67,000. The thing that I want you to get to, and I'll give you kind of the punchline. And again, this is one of those, please give me some grace. This is a very ugly slide. Summary is in 2024, you had 215,000 agents control 32% of the market and 132,000 controlling 68. This year, only 90,000 agents are controlling 60% of the market. That is crazy consolidation. Now, what does this mean to you? What are the insights? What are the takeaways? That's really what Alvaro said. Hey, could you share some of this? And the first obvious thing is, hey, good markets create really bad habits. When everything is great, when money is cheap, when everybody wants to buy and sell, when there isn't a lot of competition, it creates bad habits. But tough markets create you, my friend, you. Tough markets create great agents, people that show up like this, do the training and do the work. So here's the 4 insights. I'll go through them relatively high level. And then, obviously, Alvaro, we can do a bunch of Q&A or whatever you like. Yeah. The first thing is that just to acknowledge consolidation is happening, and it is more competitive today than I have seen, certainly since I've been tracking competition. And I'll give you just some insight. Again, going back to the numbers, if you look at this, Alvaro, we took the number of transactions, right? Buy side and sell side. And what we looked at, 2 things, right? This is the listing one, but we do the buy side, sell side. It looks almost identical. On the listing sold side, if you go to 2013, where it says 1, that was the single year of the last, call it, decade and a half, where basically everybody had a listing sell. Everybody did a buy side transaction. I can't remember another time in my 35 years where all 1.5 million NAR members all did a deal, right? It's more typically half never sell a house and all the numbers that I've been showing you. But what did we see happen in 2021? In 2021, the consumers shifted. In 2021, the consumers figured out who was hiding under the pandemic rock and who was really out there marketing and executing. And you saw for the first time, certainly in this study, where it became extremely competitive in 22. It became unbelievably competitive in 2023. 2024 dropped down. I'm not going to share the number yet for 2025, but I'm going to give you a hint, Alvaro. It went outside of the box. It went more competitive than we've ever seen. Now, you're looking at this and you're like, yeah, but Ferry, what does that mean to me? Well, let me give you the insight. I study business as much as you study your local marketplace. What I know to be true of all the clients I've worked with in my 3.5 decades, 70,000 hours of personal private coaching, not including my 207 coaches and all their millions of hours. What we know is you're only in one of 5 phases: startup, growth, cash cow, fading winner, or restructure. Now, if you're a cash cow, you know it. You are rolling in dough, deals and dollars are showing up, whether you're here or you're not. Like, that's the dream business. Small percentage of the agents. If you're under 5 years, technically you're a startup. If you're a fading winner, what that means is, Gary Keller said a funny line. He said, you're losing so slowly, you actually think you're winning. The fading winner, Alvaro, is half the audience that I show up to every time I do a speech. They've been in the business for 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. They're really good with clients. Like they're phenomenal with customers, great negotiators, great client care, great communication. But what they stopped doing was marketing and lead generation in a more relevant way for today's environment. And that's why they're falling backwards. And then the restructure agent should be obvious. They've quit the business and haven't told their broker yet. Now, the insight for all of us is, and again, we go back to there's no standing still. You're either in momentum or you're falling out of it. The answer is everything points back to growth. Everything points back to growth. So when you look back at, this, what you saw was smart agents as the market shifted from 21 to 22, continued to market aggressively, continued to innovate their approach. Email, texting, phone calls, open houses, direct mail, online, Google, Facebook. They did everything. And that's why they're winning. And you saw the same in 23 and the same in 24. And we've seen the same in 25. They stay in that growth mode. Now, number two, and again, just giving you kind of high level, the next big one is that consumer behaviors have absolutely changed. So Alvaro, I was just with my friend Damien. He's the CEO of Realtor.com. He sends me this 20-page report that is showing us all the consumer data behavior changes. I'll be sharing all that with you so you can share it with your community. I'm also, as you know, I'm in the middle of about a 300,000 consumer survey with our friends at F&F, Fidelity, Chicago, Ticor, lawyers, all the different title companies, where they're asking consumers 3 questions for me. They're saying, how did you select your agent? Let me say this. How did you select your agent? 2, what was your expectations and did they deliver? And 3, how many stars would you give them? 1 through 5. What changes would you have made if it was less than 5 stars? We're going to get a tremendous amount of insight. But the thing that I want to point out, especially to my veterans, take a look at this, for example. This was something that 1000 Watt, our friends at 1000 Watt did. And basically, here's what they discovered. When they asked the question like, how did you choose your real estate agent to help you, buy or sell your home? In this case, sell. You could see 9, 34, and 6 are the old traditional, my friend, my former, my buddy referred me, I didn't know. That number used to be, Alvaro, in the high 80s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This industry has been a word of mouth industry for as long as I can remember. And now we're seeing this shift towards people getting on their phone, right? I research agents online. I read their reviews. I read their transactions. I want to know the history. I want to know what people are saying about them. That number jumped almost 2x over the last 12 months. We also saw, and I'm going to give you some insight on this, my friend watching, 15% of them went to an online agent finding matching service, and that's how they got their agent. And then, of course, 7%, I saw a piece of advertising or marketing that impressed me. So we're seeing this shift in consumers. And I would imagine all of you probably have Grok and ChatGPT and Perplexity and Claude and others on your phone. The biggest shift we're seeing today is people are going from going on Google to do a traditional search. I'm not saying they're not. Google gets 414 billion uniques a month. But what we're seeing is consumers, instead of going best agent near me, which is a very typical search term in Google, they're going to Chat or Grok or Perplexity, and they're saying, who's the best agent near me that sells mid-century moderns and seems to get a really high price? Now, that's a more advanced ask that people are using on all these different large language models. And you know them, Chat, Gemini, Grok, Perplexity, Copilot, they're all great, right? But here's the thing. And by the way, this is now 60 days old. So Alvaro, I'm waiting for the new data on this. We think we just peaked over 10 billion asks between, call it the 5 or 6 major platforms. Now, again, Google has 414 billion, but there's 2 things you need to be aware of. Actually 3, and I'm going to give you a really nice gift today. One is the average sales price of the people that are searching on AI tools is like 40% higher than the norm. So it's not uncommon when I'm doing an event in Oklahoma, where maybe the average sales price is $350, and I say, how many of you have gotten a client now from a search engine like ChatGPT, Grok, et cetera? I'll get 1 or 2 hands. But when I'm in Silicon Valley, when I'm in Miami, when I'm in Dallas, Texas, when I'm in New York City, and I say, how many of you got a transaction now from one of the large language models? A third of the hands go up. So there is a correlation, certainly, to average sales price. So if you want to sell more houses that are more expensive, pay attention. But here's the other thing. What you need to understand is these AI search, that what they favor is specific platforms that are optimized for the way that let me say it this way. AI is lazy. AI is lazy. So what are they looking for? They're looking for lists. They're looking for structured data, like top 10. So as an example, you might want to take a screenshot of this. If you're not on Fast Expert, if you are lucky enough to be on the Real Trends, either America's Best list or the top 1,000, if you are on Yelp in your marketplace and you're considered one of the 10 best, if you're on HomeLight, Zillow, Reddit, Realtor, Experts, Homes, local sites, branded sites, your site, and your Google business page, if you are doing the right stuff and you're on those sites, you are more likely to be found. So what am I saying to you? I was just talking to Alvaro, the CEO and founder of Fast Expert. I was like, hey, Drew, do you know that you're like...
That's not, if he's called Alvaro, that's a very high...
No. I was saying, Alvaro, I'll introduce you to Drew. He's a smart young guy. I said, were you aware that right now Fast Expert seems to be the first site that all the large language models go to, specifically ChatGPT, which gets the most searches? He's like, yeah, we've seen a pretty significant spike in traffic over the last 2 years. And again, this is for free, right? Free, free, my friend. So again, I'm not an investor in any of those companies. I'm a friend to everybody in the industry. So I'm just letting you know. Now, here's the second.
Before you go to the next
please.
one, well, although no, the bio builds to that too. I think you made 2 points that are pretty critical. One, the fact that more people are choosing their agent online than ever before. That is true. And you're showing it even on the seller side. Traditionally, people choosing their buyer agent online is 3 times as likely as choosing their seller agent, which makes sense because they're looking for a home, not for an agent. And so they end up working with whoever is there to serve them. But you're showing that even on the seller side, where traditionally people went to people they know, they're starting to trust online more. And
you got it.
And I think the second one here is something we've been trying to hammer home, which is reputation management is more important than ever, right? Like in the end, these LLM models are trying to do what people are trying to do, which is gather all the information out there and find out who is the best, right? And that's why we would be surprised how many of our agents today or our clients, even though they have CINC, all of that, don't have their own site that is collecting reviews and putting them on their behalf. That is, in my mind today, whether you're a seller agent or whether you have agents on the buy side, with the advent of buyer contracts, it's become so much more important for you to manage your reputation online and have something that these models will pick up.
Bingo. So let me make it really easy for your friends, Alvaro, that are watching. So the second thing you need to do is if you grabbed your phone, and I don't even know, that's fun. I don't even know where my phone is. How often do we not do that? If you grabbed your phone right now and you went to your Instagram profile, your X profile, by the way, X is also very important. So I hope you're paying attention, formerly known as Twitter. If you looked at your Zillow profile, if you looked at all the, if your profile looks like most agents' profile and it says mom, friend, pie lover, dad, golfer, love to help people sell houses, the AI does not identify you as anything. You have to have very specific language in your bio. Make it as easy as possible for the AIs to say, that's the one. She's the one. So I think if you want to optimize your bio, hit this QR code really fast and you're going to get for free basically this is how you want to do it. This is the prompt you want to use to reimagine your bio across all major platforms, your website, your Google business page, your Zillow profile, your Realtor profile, your Homes profile, your Redfin. Across every platform, you've got to get your bio set up today for how the AIs are reading it so you get free leads, so you get selected. Now, Alvaro, what's remarkable? So can I move on from that? I'm assuming you guys got it. What I can tell you is this right here. Smart agents are committed, right? They're committed to being first and they're committed to being fast. So I'm going to take that same thing that I just shared with you and in 2 weeks, I guess, share it with, call it 26,000 agents. And you're going to see 26,000 agents the first day of my summit in real time change their bios, make a few slight adjustments, and overnight, they've now positioned themselves to be the one that Grok or Chat or, Perplexity, suddenly they're the ones. And what's even more remarkable, Alvaro, is there's no fact checking. So I'm not saying you should put I'm the number one agent on the planet, but if you look at your Google map of all your transactions or your Zillow map of all your transactions and you see that you're very dominant in 92625, you could say one of the top 10 agents in 92625 helping people in Corona Del Mar buy and sell real estate, over 500 five-star reviews between my Google, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, and my Instagram page, whatever it may be. And I'm giving you a little insight into what it's looking for, who you are, where you serve, how many transactions have you done in your career, how many reviews do you have. You could literally, I'm not saying you can do this, but you could literally lie and say you're the number one agent in the marketplace and you're going to get free leads. So don't do that because some other agent will fact check you. But my point is, Alvaro, it's the wild, wild west. Like right now, the most important thing is be first and be fast. Be
But I
first
would
and
also,
be fast.
I would add, Tom, to that, which is Google in general, whether it's the search engine or now the
Yep.
LLMs, they respect activity above all. So we had someone out there in the chat asking, well, is it all about the profiles or do the reviews matter? Like you could go and upload on your own, like 50 reviews somewhere. What you need is a lot of different people going and talking about you, right? So whatever,
Yep.
if you are not getting a review every two transactions that you make, you're missing out, right? So every time that you're helping someone, you should get a review every time. And whether that's uploaded into realtor.com, whether you have your own website, which you should, or whether you're permeating it to different platforms, the more movement that there is about you, the more that this will be picked up.
All right. So can I double down on that? Give you a very okay. So I probably shouldn't share this, but I'm going to share it now. I don't have any slides, so you have to write. You have to write, my friends. So Alvaro, in the last 45 days, my personal website, tomferry.com, is
Yeah.
at 360% lift in organic traffic. Is that
Wow.
is that good?
Yes, it is.
What if I told you I only did one thing? And it's the one thing, it's probably one of the most important strategies that we talk about at Summit coming up. But I'm going to give you all a little teaser. But again, you got to write like crazy because I don't have slides for it, right? I didn't prepare for it. So here's what I want you to do. Here's the 6 steps. Write them down in order, and you can do research to figure out how you're going to do it. So here's number 1. There's a site called Answer the Public. Answer the Public. Neil Patel owns that site. If you go to Answer the Public, what it does is it scrapes all of the questions being asked by consumers on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, hold on, Google, Bing, and I know I'm missing one, TikTok. So it scrapes all these sites for the questions that consumers are asking. On that same thing, you can then go into the search bar and type in sell home as a keyword, sell home, hit enter. And what you will see is anywhere between 1,700 to 18,000 questions consumers are asking that have the words sell home in. You will go through that list and you will get rid of the ones like, how do I sell my home on my own, right? As an example, you'll kill all that stuff. Then what you're going to do is you're going to prompt your favorite AI 50 of these questions at a time. Write me a 300 to 500 word blog. Make sure you make me the hero of the story. Write it in a way that is factual and data specific to our local marketplace in the areas that I serve. Bing, 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 bing. Maybe you upload some MLS data to this to make it even more specific. And it will then write 40, 50, 60, 300 to 500 word blogs answering those questions that consumers are asking about sell home. What do you then do? That's step
Before we
number
keep
2.
going, Tom, Moses asked, what was the website again? If you could repeat it.
Answer the Public.
Perfect.
Answer the Public. Type in the keywords sell home into the search bar. You'll get I want to say it's like 1,800 questions, Alvaro, some huge number.
Mm-hmm.
And And then what are you going to do? You're going to take 50 at a time of those questions, put it into ChatGPT or your favorite AI writing tool and say, write me a 300 to 500 word blog answering this question, make me the star, use some of my MLS data. Here you go. And it's going to spit out these blogs. What do you then do? Step 3, very important. Please write it down. You ready? Step 3, read the blog. Do not just publish it.
Yes.
Read the blog.
Read your content.
Do a little edit. Do a little edit. Step 4. Now, this is where you got to pay attention, my friends. I want you to post 5 posts a day on the following platforms. Your website. So 5 of these blogs per day, not all at once. Think your favorite news site, ESPN, LakersNews.com. They're posting throughout the day. So 5 blogs posted per day on your website, on your Google business page, and inside of LinkedIn. Those 3 to start. Those 3. 5 per day. Then you do 1 on Facebook, 1 on X, 1 on Instagram, 1 on the basics, right? So you do that every day, every day, every day, every day. 5, 5, 5, 5, and then 1, 1, 1, 1. Then the next step, and I'm going to make your brain hurt, but listen up. You can then create a short form video for an Instagram reel or a YouTube short on any one of those questions and post that. I get asked this question all the time. Tom, can I sell my home in 92625 without having to do open houses? That's one of the questions. Well, here's the answer. Blah, 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 blah. And you post it. And that gets in Instagram and X and Facebook and your business page and your Google business page. So I'm reinforcing not just the written word, but also on video. And if I want to take it one step further, step 6 is you can then take it to 11 Labs or to Notebook LM, take the entire blog, upload it into Notebook LM, and it will create for you a podcast. And now you have your podcast answering all these questions. Now, Alvaro, that may sound like a mouthful.
Well,
it's probably it's probably the single most important thing that we are focusing like our clients at this year's Success Summit, right? And it is the most important thing because right now, not only are consumer behaviors shifting, search versus GEO, SEO versus GEO could be the most important micro trend, not only of 2025, but certainly of 2026. And I'm looking here, we got like 200-ish people. And if you smarty pants are smart enough to be first and fast and to not say, oh, I don't know what he meant by that. Just you wrote down the 6 things, execute on the first 4. If you could do the last 2, you're going to kill it. And what I would say is if you want more, hit that QR code. Alvaro's got a crazy opportunity for all of you to join me. It's in like 3 weeks. So Alvaro, let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it yet. But everybody hit that on your QR code though.
But Tom, on this particular subject, I want to let everyone know because it is complex and overwhelming when you say it, and people are like, Tom's summit is amazing in general about real estate and about coaching and understanding the value of it. But one of the very particular things, having gone several times, is Tom is really invested in AI and does a fantastic job, him and his team, of really going through it and saying, okay, this is what you're going to do. Take out your phones. Let's do it together, right?
Yep.
So if you feel all overwhelmed by that, that's the place where you want to be, right? You're going to go there. And again, I'm very grateful to Tom, and we'll talk about it again at the end, but he's giving a discount for people that want to join from here. But I really mean, if this is piqued your interest and you're like, I really want to go hard on AI, on not the AI that CINC can do for me on that, but rather my way of using AI, this is there's no place where you're going to get more practical advice of how to onboard into AI in your own tool. So
100%.
I really recommend that.
Thank you, my friend. Okay, so let's be mindful of everybody's time because we promised them an hour.
Yes.
The next thing you need to understand is number 3, insight. Looking at the competition report again, 90,000 agents now controlling 61% of all the business. The market belongs to the people that market. And listen, I've been doing this for a long time. When I left, you guys probably know who my dad is, Mike Ferry, legend, just celebrated 50 years in the industry. I was just with him at his annual conference in Vegas. And listen, when I left and I started my own business, at the time I was coaching about 36 agents. And that was the first year that the Wall Street Journal published the top 100 real estate agents in the United States. 16 of the people on that list, including number like 1, 2, 5, 7, and 9, were all my personal clients. And when I reflected on what was it that made them so special? Yeah, they had great brands. Of course, they followed up. But again, we're talking like, this is 2003, 2004. This is a long time ago. Facebook didn't even exist. You didn't have an iPhone then, right? Like most agents still didn't have a website. What made them so special was they outmarketed everybody and they didn't look through the lens of being myopic. They always had 7 or 8 different ways that they attracted clients. They never let their ego get in the way and say, I don't like X. They're like, those customers need my service. I may not like them. I don't even know what that even means or who cares. I'm going to market to them anyway, right? So the concept, and again, I have like 50 slides on this. I'm just going to give you the high level, is my mother-in-law, Lola, Nana. She's 98 years old. She's very Italian. She makes lasagna. She makes homemade raviolis. She makes, pasta bolognese. Like she's 98 and she's in the kitchen in her happy place. And when she makes lasagna, she will sometimes do like a 17-layer lasagna. And it makes me think, smart agents, what they do is they're like my Nana, right? They do layers and layers and layers and layers of marketing. They are not myopic in their approach. So high level, these are a bunch of the playbooks that Alvaro, we're going to give out this year at the summit, right? How do you go from like marketing to your past clients to actually being the educator and working under what we call homes under management? Then how do you market and educate to your database and your sphere with text, email, blogging, all the stuff we're talking about? Geographic farming, you see the whole list there. Listing launches that generate listings. The Silver Tsunami campaign, which we talked about, right? The biggest opportunity you can see right now in real estate is all these people that are 70 years old living in 2-story houses. You go right on down the line, arbitraging portals, Google business page, YouTube ads, online ads for Facebook, Insta, Google, and then expert agent required only, expireds, FSBOs, and defaults as an example. So you got this laundry list of things that agents are doing. And the inside is the ones that are marketing right now are the ones that are killing it. The ones that are pulling back are in trouble. So let's keep jamming. You ready? Obviously, you know that. The last one, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A, though I do have an insight, Alvaro, I think your audience will appreciate, is that we're in a skills and communication market. And I would even emphasize like skills, of course, knowing what to say, knowing what to do, knowing how to blog, knowing how to shoot video, knowing how to use AIs. Those are all learned skills. Communication, though, is the real key. And when you look broadly at like the top 5 complaints that consumers have about real estate professionals today and always, to me, I think it's like the biggest opportunity on the planet. I think if you're like, for you as a smart agent right now watching or a team leader watching, that the complaints should be your degrees of separation. So you've all seen the list, right, of the top 5 things that consumers say: poor communication, lack of transparency, not prioritizing my interests, lack of knowledge or competence, unprofessional behavior. These are the things that consumers are repeatedly saying about our industry. They're not saying it about you, but they are saying it about our industry. And what we know is all of these are marketing opportunities. All of these are a way to communicate and express your degree of separation. It's one thing to say it. If you show it to them in reviews, if you show it to them in success stories, if you show it to them in action, this is where we win. And you go back to the 90,000 agents, they're not falling short on this stuff. They're over exceeding client expectations when it comes to communication, transparency, prioritizing their best interest. They have the knowledge, like they've got the insights, and of course, professional behavior. So when I think about it like this, obviously, I think we trained like 145,000 agents leading up to the August 17th, from March to August 17th of last year. And then we had the bifurcation of commissions, right? The commission for the list side and the buy side. The thing that I know is absolutely true: skilled agents are earning more money than they ever have. Their listing commissions have gone up. Their buy side commissions have gone up. Their rebates on commissions have gone down. And it just demonstrates that the best never take for granted what comes out of their mouth, that they can learn, that they can role play with an AI tool before they go on an appointment, that what they express in their marketing and their advertising and their print, all of it matters. We're in a skilled environment today. And there's 1,000 examples, but you know what I'm saying. I got this slide sent to me by a friend, and he said, Tom, I'm just convinced that sales and business is a self-development game disguised as a money-making opportunity. So what am I really saying to you here? What I'm really saying to you is, first, thank you for an hour of your time, of course. But what I'm really saying to you is the market's about to go into recovery mode. It's about to get surprisingly good. And whether that is December of this year, probably not likely. We'll probably have another rate cut. That's going to create a bump. But I'm talking like 26 and 27, when it'll feel a lot like 2017, 2018, 2019 for my veterans. You remember how good that market was. That's what's going to happen. But it's only going to happen for the people that get better. It's only going to happen for the pros. It's only going to happen for the people that are going to change their bio today on Instagram at the minimum. It's going to happen for the people that blog starting today, that don't stop on their advertising, that don't stop on their follow-up, that understand longer sales cycles requires even more follow-up and more discipline today than it ever has. So I'd make the argument, if you're feeling even slightly overwhelmed and you can use some guidance, be first and fast, right? I would strongly recommend, at the minimum, you take a look at this. I know it's coming up in 2 weeks, and you can have 1,000 things you can say to me that doesn't make sense. But because of my relationship with Alvaro, at least you don't have to pay the $699 full ticket price. You guys get it for like a remarkable $299, which is a steal. So if one of you joins, it'll be awesome. Make sure you come up and say hi to me and say, hey, Tom, I was on that thing. And by the way, look at my Instagram, and look, I'm on Fast Expert, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. Like, I love that kind of feedback.
Yeah, and I'd say, so I'm going to be there. Troy's going to be there. We're going to be, I'm sure, I know of a bunch of clients. I saw Jessica Duncan, who is coming there between the audience today. We have a bunch of clients that are coming, and we're probably going to organize a dinner or a party. We'll see what we do from CINC. But I want to hone in on one thing that you said, which is I see such similarity to 2020. Yes, we are in a market where there is a reticence to transact that has slowed down the market. Transactions are happening, and people are succeeding, but it is tougher, right?
Yes.
But we have a much better market coming. The issue is you need to be investing in it now. So going to a summit like this or splitting a lead gen, but most of it, doing the phone calls today is the best investment you can be making. And the one extra thing that I'd add, if you're making all the phone calls today, but you're being transactional in those phone calls, then you're not going to get anywhere. Because if people are not going to transact in the next 3 months, you're wasting your time and breath by calling them, right? Now, if you're calling today to establish a relationship that will pay off 6 months from now, then you're going to be swimming in money when that comes. And that's exactly what happened. Anyone that in April of 2020 heard the news and said, oh, I'm supposed to stay home and do nothing and hide below the bed, missed out on 2021 and on the second half of 2020.
Alvaro, I couldn't, I mean, you said that perfectly. I appreciate you. I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks. Troy as well, the whole CINC community. It was a pleasure to hang with everybody today. I'll just leave you with this. You're either gaining momentum or you're losing momentum. So for today, do something that puts you in a state of momentum. Like Alvaro was saying, make your phone calls, call your leads, because that'll get you into momentum fast. So Alvaro, I'll see you in a couple of weeks, my friend. Thank you so much for allowing me to join.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you there. I'll be there, and I have a bunch of people that are already putting in the chat that they'll be joining us. So
awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. All right. Appreciate it, everybody. Take care.